So we got cut off a little bit in the middle of this last time. Part two, continuing on with the pleural cavity and parietal cavities. So the needle goes from the outside through the parietal pleural membrane, through the pleural cavity fluid, through the visceral pleura, into the lungs. From the lungs, it comes back out the opposite way. The membrane touching it is visceral pleura, through the cavity, the fluid, and then the parietal pleura membrane. Then it goes out in that space there, the thoracic cavity space, pleural cavity, and then it hits the heart. So it hits the parietal pericardial membrane. And then the pericardial fluid in between the parietal and visceral parts of the membrane. And then it hits the visceral pericardial membrane, which touches the heart, which is your myocardium. Myo means muscle, cardia, heart. What makes you smile? Face muscles. Chickens don't smile. So organ systems. Continuing with part two. And vitamin D precursor, that should be PRE, production. There's a cholesterol that is changed by the UV radiation of the sun, which then goes down and is acted on by the kidneys later on and the liver, eventually make vitamin D. And vitamin D's main role is to help our intestines absorb calcium. Without it, we don't absorb much calcium. Skeletal system, anatomy, bones, cartilage, ligaments. Functions, it provides support. It protects us. Your ribs protect your heart. The vertebrae protect your spinal column. Your skull protects your brain. It does support us. Without it, we'd be walking around like an amoeba. Okay, we wouldn't be walking, we'd be crawling around. We can move a lot easier because we have stiff bones to spread our legs out and walk on. Otherwise, like I say, we'd be doing amoeboid movement. It'd be pretty silly. Blood cell production. Inside the bone marrow, the red bone marrow, red blood cell production. Gnarly, dude. Fat and mineral storage. The yellow marrow stores fat. And of course, the hydroxyapatite, or the solid part, helps store calcium and phosphate ions. Yeah, that's me. The muscular system. Woo, structure, muscles, which attach to bones. Tendons. Tendons attach muscles. Ligaments attach bones. So, the functions for movement, posture, and body heat. Without muscles, you'd be slumped over the whole time. You won't be able to move. And yes, when you move more, you burn energy and you produce body heat. Shivering helps in the winter. Lymph system. You've got lymph nodes all over your body, as you can see in the diagram behind you. It's not just our tonsils. Lymph vessels, tonsils, those are the structures. The function, they remove foreign substances from blood. They help fight disease. They maintain fluid balance. And fat absorption from the small intestine. Little lymph tissue called lacteals absorb fat. When you move your muscles, it squishes the fluid from the lymph back into the blood. All that blood carries nutrients to the body. Water, likewise, bathes every cell in the body. It leaves the blood system, leaves the capillaries, and bathes it. In order to get back into the blood, it usually gets passed through lymph tissues. While in lymph, it is now called lymph instead of blood. So that fluid is squeezed by your muscles. That's why it's good to get up and walk every now and then so you don't get cankles. Respiratory system. Some major structures are the lungs, the trachea, the bronchi, the nasal passages, the pharynx. Functions: oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange from blood and the air. It also helps regulate our pH. When you're breathing hard, what tells your body to breathe hard is not the fact that your body senses lack of oxygen. On the contrary, it's your brain detects a lower pH in the blood. Carbon dioxide dissolves in the plasma as carbonic acid, and your brain detects that slight drop in pH and tells you to breathe harder. So the more you ventilate, respirate, the more CO2 is put back out. So oxygen goes in, it picks up a carbon from the electron transport chain, it picks up carbon from the sugar that you ate. And then that carbon dioxide gets expelled back out. And less than 1% of the air is carbon dioxide. But those plants are amazing. They take that, bring it in, combine it with H2O, water, and make sugars. Everything that you see a plant is mainly sugars. Digestive system. Structures, your mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, the accessory organs are those that don't touch the food directly, like your liver and pancreas. Functions: to break down food, to absorb the nutrients, and eliminate the wastes. Nervous system. Woo! The brain, the spinal cord, nerves. Yes, your eyes sense photons. They're an amazing nervous system. Functions: it's a regulatory system. Whoa, it's a major regulatory system. Big asterisk next to that. Also sensations, controls movement, physiologic processes, and thought. Just thinking of how we think is amazing. Endocrine system, mainly the glands that secrete hormones. Functions: it's a regulatory system as well. Between the endocrine system and your nervous system, most of your body homeostasis is kept in check. It influences growth, metabolism, reproduction, and other important functions. The nervous and endocrine are the two main regulatory systems that help maintain homeostasis. When I put an asterisk, pretty important. Cardiovascular system, the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood. Boom. Functions: it transports nutrients. The main job of the cardiovascular system is to transport nutrients, waste, gases, hormones, immune system components, and helps regulate body temperature. Blood. Urinary system. Anatomy of the kidneys, the urinary bladder, ureters, urethra. Its functions, its physiology is to remove the waste from the blood mainly. It also helps regulate blood pH to an extent. It keeps the ions balanced and keeps your water balanced. Reproductive system, your structures, yes, the ovaries, vagina, uterus, mammary glands, testes, penis, and other accessory structures and ducts. The functions is for reproduction, to produce hormones for sexual development. Anatomical terminology, part 3, the body plan. When physicians talk and people talk from city to city, country to country, they've got to be on the same level of understanding, the same terminology. So we use this body terminology. Yes, that bull's horn is under his skin, up in his shin. The anatomical position is what you see. It is basically when we're thinking of someone, when we describe someone, we picture them in the anatomical position. Out, that is, their body is erect, standing up. Their arms are at their side, relaxed at their side. The palms are facing forward. The head is facing forward, and the feet are facing forward, about shoulder width apart. Just like that, except this guy's arms are a little off to the side too much. They're sticking out, pretty much just resting at the side. Directional terms. These are some tough ones. For instance, right and the opposite of right is left. Some of us still have to throw our hands up, our finger and index finger, to see if it's L or not for our left hand. Superior, opposite of superior is inferior. Superior is above to the head, Inferior is down towards the feet. If someone's your inferior, you step on them. Anterior or ventral means towards the what we call the front or the belly. Dorsal or posterior is our back, like the dorsal fin of a shark sticks out of the water. Medial, like the median in the road, is in the middle. And lateral, as in football, you throw it off towards the sidelines. So my shoulders are lateral to my neck, where my belly button is medial to pretty much everything else. Cephalic, cephal, like encephalitis. Cephal refers to head. Encephalitis is inflammation inside your head. N is in. So cephal is head region. Opposite of that is caudal or tail region. Caudate towards your end of your spinal column, basically. The tail of a dog, tail of a cat. Proximal is closest to your heart, pretty much, closest to you. Distal is furthest away. My fingers are distal to my wrist. So no matter where I put my hands, if I put my finger over my heart, the blood still has to travel further to my fingers than it does to my wrist. Therefore, my fingers are distal. My elbow is proximal to my wrist. Even though my wrist can touch my heart and my elbow can't, the blood can still get to my elbow faster first, so it's proximal. So my nose compared to my eyes, my nose is proximal to my lips, and my eyes are distal compared to my nose. Superficial is more on the surface. Deep is obviously deep. If you got a superficial cut, it's just a scrape, probably not even bleeding. A deep cut, you've gone to the bone. Here's some practice. You can click on these, and obviously the little lines were off anyway, so it didn't work. Anterior toward the front, posterior toward the back. Lateral to the sides, medial to the middle. This diagram is pretty much out of your book. It says definitions on page 10. Don't worry about that. That was out of your book. The definitions we've already discussed them. Body planes. There's three planes. That is how you can cut the body. Three main ones we talk about. Like if we dissect something, they make a sagittal section of the heart. You would cut the heart in half, starting from top to bottom, and a mid-sagittal is straight down the middle. So a frontal section is if I had a lifelike gingerbread cookie standing there, look like a human, and I cut it, so I separate the front from the back, and its face fell off. That's the frontal section. And transverse, kind of like the first letter in transverse, T, cross section. You're cutting across. You're separating horizontally the top from the bottom, basically. And here are those planes as in a diagram view from your textbook. So the first top one would be a sagittal because it slices it in half, also known as a median section. The next one is a frontal, you're cutting the front away from the back, and then your transverse or your cross section going across. Planes and organs. Now, when we're talking about organs specifically, if you got your intestines, you make a longitudinal cut, you're cutting lengthwise. Transverse or cross section, same. It's like you're slicing little coins, like a hot dog, you cut in coin shapes. That's a cross section. An oblique is what you do, like French style green beans, cut them at an oblique angle. They give them an angle cut, so oblique means angle. So here we go. The top one is your longitudinal section. The one on the left is your transverse or cross section, and that angular cut is your oblique section. Abdominal regions, that's how we say texto. When they're talking about the abdomen, some physicians use these, others they might not specialize. So you can say right hypochondriac, hypo under chondro, kind of like cartilage, part of your ribs. So that's on your right side, obviously. Hypo under the rib. Your gastric region, epi is upon, gastric stomach, above the bulk of your stomach there. If you drink a whole lot of water, you slosh down, it's in that region here in the sloshing. Left hypochondriac region, just under your left armpit over there, under those ribs. Smack down the middle, you get the umbilical region, about where the umbilical